Welcome to Prairie Lifestyles. Every day we have electricity at our fingertips, with the flip of a switch, the turn of a dial, or by plugging in a cord. But rarely do we ever stop to think about where this power comes from. Today on Prairie Lifestyles, we'll take you to the major source of hydroelectricity in Manitoba. Manitoba Hydro's limestone generating station is the utility's newest facility on the Nelson River in northern Manitoba. We'll tour the plant and discuss the planning and construction of this immense project. In Manitoba, converter stations play a vital role in the transmission of power from north to south, as do Hydro's HVDC transmission lines. We'll look at this unique feature of Manitoba's power system. In addition to showing you the technical aspect of producing and transmitting electricity, we also want to show you the northern communities of Gillam and Sundance, and you'll meet two of the residents who live in Gillam. But first, let's go to where it all begins. Water is one of the world's greatest natural resources. The rich hydroelectric potential of Manitoba hydro river systems has been known to power planners since the early 1900s. But power development was not feasible until half a century later, when new technology in long-distance transmission became available. In 1966, following extensive investigations, a commitment was made to go ahead with the development of the Nelson River. Kettle was the first in a series of generating stations planned for harnessing the lower Nelson. Construction began in 1966, and the final unit was in place in 1974. Long Spruce and Genpeg generating stations followed the building of Kettle and were both completed in 1979. Kelsey has the distinction of being the first generating station on the Nelson River. Located on the Upper Nelson, Kelsey was started in 1957 and went into service in 1961. The Kelsey station was built to provide power to the Inco mine at Thompson. The Nelson River is the home to 5 of Manitoba Hydro's generating stations, the 5th and most recent being Limestone. Limestone, at time of construction, was one of the largest projects in North America. Dennis Windsor, resident manager, talks about the construction of Limestone.
Construction began in the late 70s. In 1976, construction of the cofferdam out into the river to enclose the area of construction started, and it carried on from 1978, which time the cofferdam was completed. At that point in time, due to a downturn in the economy, it became apparent that the generation of limestone would not be needed for a few years, and the project was mothballed for a while. Construction resumed again in 1985 and carried forward to the point that you see that today. First power was generated in 1990, so going back to the original construction and sort of adding up the time frames of construction, you can see that it takes 8 years of construction from a start in the riverbed until you produce first power. From the time of the first unit on until the last unit is another 2 years, so we're talking a 10-year project, start to completion.
The cofferdam was a temporary enclosure which allowed the building of the powerhouse to take place within its walls, while the mighty waters of the rushing Nelson River are held at bay by the horseshoe-shaped dam. The rock excavation which took place inside the cofferdam prepared the riverbed for the foundations of the draft tube, powerhouse, and spillway structures. The excavated material was comprised of primarily limestone, thus derived the name for this impressive project. Construction continued, with contractors working day and night during the summer season to take advantage of warmer weather and to meet project deadlines. By June 1989, the structure was virtually completed, and work continued inside the powerhouse with the installation of turbines and generators. Components to be installed inside the powerhouse are usually assembled in the service bay. Here, a rotor is being readied for installation. Every generator has a rotor, which is connected by a shaft to the turbine runner. Water striking the runner blades causes the shaft and rotor to spin, creating electricity. The rotor is the heaviest single component of a generator, weighing 370 metric tons. To move such a component, both of the station's overhead cranes are needed. Each crane is capable of lifting 200 metric tons. The cranes are critical to construction of the powerhouse, as all equipment and parts destined for installation are moved by overhead crane. Also in the powerhouse are the control and protection systems for each generator, along with other systems and the circuit breakers. Power from each generator flows through these circuit breakers and into the transformers located on the outside of the station. The transformers increase the voltage of the electricity to 230,000 volts for transmission to Manitoba Hydro's converter stations. The price tag for an immense project such as this was estimated at $2.5 billion. As a result of competitive prices received on tendered contracts, as well as a reduction in forecasted escalation in interest rates, this cost was closer to $1.5 billion. Not only is Manitoba Hydro concerned with technical and construction matter, but greater care and attention has been paid to environmental matters. The Manitoba government required that an environmental impact study be carried out by Manitoba Hydro on the construction and operation implications of the limestone project. This study determined that the environmental impact of limestone will be less severe than most previous major hydro developments. Once the electrical power has been generated, it is transmitted to the Radisson or Henday converter station. Radisson converts all the power generated from Kettle and half the power generated from Long Spruce. The Henday converter station, located next to the limestone generating station, converts the other half of Long Spruce and will be converting all of Limestone's power. John Cullen, Electronics Maintenance HVDC Supervisor, explains why the converter station is necessary.
Okay, the converter stations that we have at Manitoba Hydro were looked at as a way of transmitting the power that was available on the Nelson River to the southern markets. The existing AC technology at the time that the Nelson River was looked at, the line losses and using AC current to ship power down to Winnipeg would have made it uneconomical to do it. So when the hydro planners first looked at it, the HVDC technology was just coming on the market at that time. So it was looked at by hydro planners at the time, and they made the decision to go with HVDC.
What exactly is the difference between AC and DC?
Okay, your AC current essentially in Manitoba Hydro is a 60-cycle system, which means that the current reverses every 60 cycles, whereas your DC current is, the current is always in the same direction, same as what you'd have in a flashlight battery or in a car battery.
Alternating current produced at Hydro's Nelson River generating stations is sent to either Radisson Converter Station, near Gillam, or Henday Converter Station, near Limestone. At each converter station, the electricity is converted into direct current. To do this, mercury arc valves are used at Radisson, while solid-state thyristors are used at Henday. Although the hardware may be different at each station, the end result is the same: direct current power ready for transmission to the southern terminus of the HVDC system, Dorsey Converter Station, near Winnipeg. Power is sent to Dorsey from Radisson and Henday along two HVDC transmission lines called Bipole 1 and Bipole 2. These lines are the backbone of Manitoba Hydro's transmission system. They cross some of the most adverse terrain and climatic areas in North America. Once delivered to Dorsey, the direct current power is converted back to alternating current and fed into Hydro's regular transmission system. When we return, you'll meet a couple who live in Gillam and discover what this thriving community has to offer. More than 20 years ago, Gillam underwent a transformation from a sleepy northern hamlet into a thriving and modern community. With the construction of the Kettle generating station in 1966, the town burst from a population of 350 to 1,500. With that growth came business, increased town services, and a new future for Gillam. Larry and Karen Erickson have been living in Gillam for 13 years. Karen is a social worker for Family Services, and Larry is the maintenance superintendent for the Radisson Henday Converter Station. Gillam would be considered by most an isolated community. What activities are you involved with that help your family to deal with the isolation component of living in Gillam?
Well, first of all, I'm not convinced that it's that isolated. Being here for 13 years, it was isolated before the road was here. Now the road to Thompson is in, so it makes a big difference. But the activities, in the summertime, the children play baseball, soccer, and we do a lot of cycling, walking, fishing. Fishing is very big with the boys and my oldest daughter. In the wintertime, there's, of course, hockey and ringette. And everybody's very, very busy with hockey and ringette and shows up for our winter pretty good.
Some of Gillam's businesses include a bakery, souvenir shop, liquor mart, local coffee shop, laundromat, hardware store, and a shopping mall. In the mall you'll find a Sears catalog outlet, a Northern store, a florist shop, a hair salon, a card and gift shop, post office, the Highline Credit Union, and a jean store. Karen Erickson talks about the shopping facilities.
Well, over the 13 years that we've lived here, I think we've grown used to what we do have. They've certainly improved over the last 8 years with the road coming in. Both grocery-wise and other have become more competitive. We're basically quite pleased with the grocery store. It's fairly new, and it offers quite a wide variety. We do some annual shopping down south, and certainly the variety isn't here that we would find in a larger center.
Larry believes that overall, the services available in the town are second to none.
Well, that was one of the biggest things I noticed right away was for a town of 1,500, there were so many services available. I'm from a small town of roughly 1,000 people, and if you want to compare the services to the small town in the south, we actually have more services in Gillam. That's in my opinion. There's bowling. You've got just about every type of sport you'd want. The recreation center is second to none. As many people have commented, we just recently had the provincial C. Adam tournament up here, and there was towns from Bellarine, Pilot Mound, and everybody commented that the facilities are really excellent, in fact. And it kind of gives you a sense of pride.
Gillam has its own school from K to 12. Are you pleased with the education level that your children are receiving?
I think we find it adequate. We've been quite pleased. Our children are all in primary at this point, so it would be hard for us to discuss the junior high or senior high levels. Provincially, we know that they have been tested and have come out showing very good marks. We've got young, enthusiastic teachers that are vibrant and full of resources that flow through the children. So I think that's a very positive aspect.
We're really proud of our teachers and principal. Our principal, of course, is just leaving, and we're going to be getting another one. But we've got a good selection, good candidates. The principal that was here was originally from Dauphin, and he was a superintendent of Dauphin area, and the school is very well run.
If there's one thing that you could say about Gillam, the best part about living here, what would that be?
I would say the best part of living in Gillam is the large amount of services for the small town atmosphere, because again, we're from the small town, and of course financial considerations, working in a northern area with the additional finances help you in being able to do just about any little thing you'd like to do. And I think that's one of the things that keeps us relatively happy and content up here.
I also think it's a very young and vibrant community, and there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of transition, a lot of new faces from time to time. There's always change, and I think change is healthy.
Because the Limestone and Henday sites are about 48 kilometers by road from Gillam, a new town site was created for project workers and their families. Nestled among a forest of coniferous and birch trees, about 7 kilometers north of Limestone, the temporary community has been named Sundance after the Sundance Creek, which empties into the Nelson at that point. Shopping and other town amenities include a school, kindergarten to grade 8, and the Sundance Rec Center, which contains a bowling alley, hockey rink, curling rink, gymnasium, library, and tennis court. The Limestone Camp provides amenities to single employees working on the Limestone project. A fully staffed kitchen, bunkhouses, and recreation facilities, including a fully equipped weight room and a gymnasium for basketball, volleyball, badminton, and floor hockey, are provided. This mobile camp will eventually be moved approximately 25 kilometers downstream to the proposed Kanawapa site. With an in-service date early in the next century, Manitoba Hydro's 1,390 megawatt Kanawapa generating station will be the utility's next large generating project. The Kanawapa project will continue a 30-year tradition of effective hydro development in Manitoba's north.
Manitoba Hydro's transmission lines are subject to some pretty adverse climatic conditions. Maintaining these lines can be a challenging and somewhat dangerous job. Scott Powell, a fellow Manitoba Hydro employee, joins us in this segment to provide some insight into Manitoba Hydro's helicopter line maintenance program in northern Manitoba.
Under most circumstances, Hydro's line maintenance staff would shudder at this site. Fortunately, though, what you see here is actually a new method of doing detailed line inspections and live line maintenance. The first practical application of this technique was carried out on the HVDC Nelson River crossing near the Limestone generating station. Hydro's contractor on the job, Haverfield Helicopters of Miami, Florida, pioneered the technique and has both the Canadian and American patents on the procedure. This new method allows Hydro to do two things. The first is to make a detailed inspection of a transmission line. While helicopters have been used for years as a method of patrolling lines, this was the first time such a detailed inspection of a transmission line has been made. The use of an observer standing on a small platform attached to the helicopter's skids is what makes this detailed inspection possible. But more importantly, this new technique allows Hydro to perform live line repair work with a minimum of fuss. The helicopter, worker, and pilot are energized to the voltage of the line they are working on. This allows the worker, now on a larger platform, to work on the line while it is still energized, thereby minimizing disruptions to our customers while also improving system stability. Although Haverfield has performed live line work from helicopters on AC transmission lines since about 1984, the company had never before attempted to use the technique on high-voltage direct current lines. Therefore, the work in the north this summer on Hydro's HVDC lines was a world first. Work performed on the line included the removal of old aerial marker balls and the removal and replacement of line spacer dampers on the transmission lines themselves. Pete Simmons is the line maintenance superintendent for Northern Area in Thompson. He said that the helicopter system offers Hydro some unique advantages.
Well, the repairs, I guess, that you can do out of the helicopter, you can do in standard ways too. It's just the efficiency of the thing and the remoteness of the lines we have to access to do it. They can fly right up beside a skywire and put a splice on it or change the dampers. We've got lots of damper problems coming at us on the DC system in years to come. And we've been changing them out manually to this date, and this operation is the first attempt to do them out of the helicopter.
Something like we just saw here on the Gillam to Churchill line where they put some armor out on. What kind of time would you be looking at to perform that manually, including your time to access the site?
Well, this particular location we're at, we're 180 tower structures out of Gillam, about 40 miles north through nothing but swamp you saw when you flew over it. We couldn't really access this part of the line with vehicles only in the winter. We'd have to plow out a road and come up here and perform the same work you saw, but perform it out of a bucket truck. And that's one option. That would take us a preparation of 3 or 4 days, maybe a week or more, and the costs involved would be obviously higher, very, very much higher. This job this morning took us about 5 minutes, actual hands-on, plus flying out here. It's an hour-and-a-half job, that's all.
So the efficiency is just increased tenfold.
Yeah. Nothing, you can't compare it to anything. This is the future in line maintenance.
Barry Rindle is the project coordinator for Hydro. He said the helicopter could essentially be thought of as a 150-mile-per-hour bucket truck.
It really gives you an opportunity to do work in mid-span, which you'd otherwise have to do out of a cart or putting a bucket truck underneath the line and putting yourself in place out of a bucket. So it does give you the mobility and the ability to work between the structures off of a platform. And this is a big advantage for us, particularly again in the remote areas.
Because all the work can be carried out on a line while it is energized, lines can be repaired without being taken out of service. Another major benefit for Hydro in terms of system security. Buddy Merchant, Haverfield's manager of operations, supervised the work on site. He said working in Manitoba's north, while enjoyable, posed some problems.
Fueling is the main concern, but Manitoba Hydro and its people have done an exceptional job of taking care of that. They've spotted fuel drums in the remote areas out under the line for us, and that has not been a problem at all. It's just been a new experience for us. The crew members have been delighted over the new territory and the wildlife they've seen out under the lines during the inspection. The DC line itself was really fascinating to all of us, since it was our first time to ever experience inspecting it and working on it in an energized state. It's been a truly enlightening experience, to say the least, but we've certainly enjoyed it and look forward to coming back again in the future.
Although the details haven't been analyzed yet, it certainly appeared as if the whole project was a success. Barry Rindle.
Well, the line maintenance that we're having these people do would cost us a considerable amount of money to employ any alternative method to do the same repairs. So from a payback point of view, without having worked up numbers in detail to this point, the payback is certainly considerable.
Thanks for joining us today. Not only does northern Manitoba provide us with a bountiful supply of hydroelectric power, but there's also uniqueness in the people, the lifestyle, and in the challenging work that they do to provide Manitoba Hydro customers with a safe and reliable supply of electricity. Please join us again next week for Prairie Lifestyles.
If you'd like more information about today's program, write Prairie Lifestyles at this address. Prairie Lifestyles, care of CKX Television, 2940 Victoria Avenue West, Brandon, Manitoba, R7A 685, or phone 728-1150. Prairie Lifestyles is produced by CKX Television in cooperation with Manitoba Agriculture and Manitoba Hydro.